didn't have the perfect life, right? There's things in my life that was extremely challenging, from fatherless, motherless home to my grandmother raising me to dealing with poverty at certain times to abuse to all types of things. And you sometimes can look at that as a crutch. You can look at that as that's my identity, or you can find yourself and say, this is just my story, and what am I going to do with it?
Welcome back to the Let's Evolve for Tomorrow podcast. I'm your host, Tyrone, and we help aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs excel to the next level by inviting other aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs to the podcast to give knowledge, gems, and golden nuggets on how to get to the next level. So without further ado, we have a very special guest, like a brother to me, a best friend to me. We go way back. This guy did some amazing things over the last 30 years. I can't even name all of them because it's too much to name, but I can say this for sure. He's definitely won 6 Emmys, and he's been nominated over 20 times. He's a phenomenal film director, and there's a lot more behind that story. So without further ado, and without me rambling, because as you can see, I have a hoarse voice today, but we're going to get through this. We're going to push through. But without further ado, I want to introduce De'Niel Phipps with Born to DP Films. De'Niel, if you don't mind, if you could just give us an introduction and tell us a little bit about yourself.
First, want to say, man, I commend you for this. This is amazing. Anytime I see a fellow entrepreneur taking that risk, I commend them, because it's difficult. It's hard. It's hard to get past the fear. So just thank you for having me on this show. I know that this is going to do great things. I've already saw some of the episodes and listened to them. You're doing a great job out here.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, with me, I've been in film for 25 years. It was a gift that I feel like God gave me. There's one thing to pick up a ball. It's one thing for me to be able to run fast, but it's something about God allowing me to be Michael Jordan in this industry. I always say it was something that just came very, very easy to me. So, off the reps, I've had the opportunity as of late, just most recent, to help, produce, and direct Tasha Cobb's latest project, which is Hymns. It just won a Dove Award, was nominated for a Grammy. I've worked very closely with Travis Green on his last album called Oil and Water. I just finished up the pre-tail with the Dove Awards. Also got a chance to spend some time with a lot of fellow people that I work with there. I have tons of things in the works. I'm an author now. Got some really fun things coming out with that. The book is being extended. And some other content creative things that I'm really doing out there. So I'm really excited about this next chapter of me in the film world.
Okay. Wow, so you threw some really big names out there.
Nah, they just good people, man. They just good people.
So let's talk about the book a little bit more. So tell us a little bit about Little D.
All right, so what's funny? I don't know how detailed you want me to get. We can be here for 4 hours, so I can just go. Okay. But I never inspired to write a book.
Okay.
Never. I'm a person that truly believes in, I've always thought this when I was younger, if I think it, I should create it. So even when I felt like I was in the wrong lane, even if I had something on my mind, I would always stop and do that, not knowing what's coming out of it. And this book was a gift, man. It was a gift from the man upstairs. I truly believe that, because it was nothing that I thought of ever. And I went to sleep, and I just remember having this dream, and these words kept coming out of it the entire time. It was called, I Need a Me Tour. So I woke up that next morning and I wrote the entire story, wrote the entire book. I had no idea what I was going to do with the book. I had no idea what to do with the manuscript. I knew no illustrators. I'm in TV and film, bro. I don't do publishing. Right. No desire, never had a desire. Wanted to own some people's book rights to shoot their movie, but not necessarily owning my own. And what came out of that story was something amazing. It was a blessing. And I remember right after I wrote the manuscript, I was filming for the Bloomberg Network, and they sent me off, and I met this lady who had just published a book. Mm-hmm. And so I asked her, we got done with the shoot. I said, hey, you mind me asking, so how did you get your book going? She was like, so how far are you into? I was like, look, I woke up, wrote a script, right, or a manuscript, and sent it off to the Writers Guild to get copyrighted, and that's about all I knew. And she was like, what is the story about? And I kind of told her it was all about mentorship and this and this and that. And she was like, are you serious? And she gave me the number to a literary agent.
Okay.
And from there, I touched base with the literary agent. They thought that the story was really good. Then COVID hit.
Ah, okay.
Yep, COVID hits, and they tabled it.
Gotcha.
So that February, March of 2020, it all got shut down. And I just remember 7 months into COVID, right from the time I wrote the manuscript to that 7th month, I heard God tell me, like, I need you to move on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know how or what I'm supposed to do with a book.
Right.
And so what I did was I had some old children's books for my kids at the house, and I laid them all out on the floor, and I started looking at what I like and got to know some of the illustrators, and I started reaching out to them on Instagram and, you know, trying to call around. And it was like, hey, we're tied to a literary agent already or a publishing company. We can't work with you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. But I knew that with me, everything has to be done with a spirit of excellence and have a certain type of quality before I even attach myself or move forward. I like overanalyze, I overcreate, and things can't be perfect. Perfection is not possible, but you can get dang near close. Mm-hmm. So what I did was from there, I started getting on these forums, trying to find out who's out there, some untapped resources. And I found this guy in Seattle, and I sent him my manuscript, mm-hmm. and he hit me back and was like, I have to work on this book. A mentor changed his life. And I was like, wow. So I knew I had something there.
So how long did the whole project take?
Once it got going and I figured out pretty much the money part between me trying to stick with a literary agent or creating my own publishing company, and I found out the money was pretty close. Okay. And it wasn't as much as I thought it would be for me to fund it myself. Right. And I was like, you know something? And the guy on the phone was like, look, I'll help you get through this. I've done tons of books. Okay. He was like, this is this. I'm like, are you sure? Found a distribution agent. So between that whole cycle and finding a editor, focus groups to make sure the book was right, you know, all that good stuff, it took maybe a year. Okay. Yeah, it took maybe a year. And
so you did like a few book tours after that, right?
I did some of everything. So I went from the book coming out to a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement. And then from there, the book going into this whole school purchasing. From there, I just had 2 recent at an African Arts Festival and also a gospel festival where I just kind of sat in the back. And, you know, the thing about me or the thing about my creativity, I don't always have to be front runner, right? I think sometimes, especially with a book like this, and as we continue to go through life, we don't always... There's different seasons for different things. Mm-hmm. So in this season of my life, it's more touch, more firsthand, more grassroots, where, you know, I get to know the people who are reading my books. I get to talk to them. I get to explain stuff. So I'm really excited about that new journey. Okay.
So what actually inspired you to write Little D?
Well, I've always been a writer, right? Okay. Like I've always been a writer. I just remember when I was in high school, my 9th and 10th grade was not my best, right? Okay. You know, I think I set records for skipping school. Right. I think you were there with me. You know, maybe not.
Yeah, we'll take that out.
Yeah. So, you know, I just wasn't fully focused. Right. It was still a very important time in my life that taught me a lot. But when I went to this secondary high school called Bridgeport High School, because I attended Saginaw High first, it was this teacher there. His name was Mr. Resler. Mm-hmm. And I always feel like there's people in your life that are only supposed to be there to transition you into your next phase of your life. Right. So Mr. Resler was a person that, even though grammatically I wasn't correct, he said that I had something that most people don't. Mm-hmm. He said, you write with so much style, and that's a gift. Okay. So he said, you can pay people. You can literally pay people to fix your punctuation, right, and your grammar. Okay. But what they can't do is write the way you write. Right. So always write. And I just remembered that. And I've been a writer ever since. So I write commercials, I write movies, I write, you know, short films, I write some of everything. And so when it was coming to write this book, you know, the words just came out.
Okay. So I know in the beginning I mentioned you had 6 Emmys. You have 6, right?
Yeah, I have 6.
Nominated over 20 times. Like, where does that even come from? How does it feel to have, like, for me personally, I've only seen an Emmy on TV. Like, I know you've had them, but this is my first time actually seeing them in person. So what did you do when your name was called for the very first time?
Well, we can go back a little bit further.
Okay.
So I'm from Saginaw, Michigan. I grew up humble beginnings.
Okay.
Taught to work extremely hard, but didn't have the perfect life, right?
Right.
There's things in my life that was extremely challenging, from fatherless, motherless home to my grandmother raising me, to dealing with poverty at certain times, to abuse, to all types of things.
Mm-hmm.
And you sometimes can look at that as a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at that as that's my identity, or you can find yourself and say, this is just my story, and what am I going to do with it?
Right.
So in 2005, I made a huge leap of faith, and I moved to Columbus, Ohio. And I was previously working for news stations locally. God transitioned me out of sports into this media field. And when I got to Columbus, I was scared. I didn't know. I didn't speak well. Like, I was in an environment I was not used to.
Okay.
And I just remember in 2005, walking in the newsroom. This is after a lot of sweat and tears, a lot of hardships, a lot of loneliness because I was here by myself. And just remembering the moment when I walked in the newsroom and they said, De'Niel. I said, yeah. They said, did you check the board?
Mm-hmm.
I said, what are you talking about? I walked over there and I got nominated for my first Emmy in 2005. And what that showed me is that I belong. So I know that wins are important, but that day and that moment showed me I belong here.
Exactly.
I belong in this field. It doesn't matter if I have a degree, I don't have a degree. It doesn't matter if I have this background or that background. I belong, and I need to start just stepping up and showing that. Stop taking a back seat. I belong here. And from there, 2008, I won my first.
Mm-hmm.
And they always go back a year.
Okay.
So I won in 2009, but the Emmy was for work in 2008. And then from there, it just kept going, man. And it was amazing. And when I won my first, when I was actually at the ceremony, because in 2009, which is funny, I was actually at my class reunion.
Wow.
Yeah, and I found out through a
Saginaw,
phone call
right?
in Saginaw.
Okay.
And I found out that I won that night. And it was crazy because I was around amongst the people, my hometown, my people.
Exactly.
And just to be able to say, hey, bro, I won an Emmy. And when I found out I was at home, come on, that was one heck of a bookmark.
Right.
Yeah, so then when I actually won, it was crazy. When I won, it was in, man, these dates. Don't hold me to all these dates.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
But I do remember the moment when I walked up there.
Okay.
I do remember the moment
Are
I walked
you nervous?
up. I won't say I was nervous. It was surreal, though.
Okay.
So I couldn't remember.
So.
But I didn't know. So to answer your question, right? So I didn't know I was in the moment. I had no clue.
Okay.
They was like, and the Emmy goes to De'Niel Phipps, and I'm like,
did you hesitate?
bro, I knew it was me because they was like D. I was like, I won.
Right.
They saw that DE apostrophe. They ain't know what to do with it. They was like, I was like, yep, I won. So I walk up there. I still can't remember really what I said. And when I remember walking out, I had took a picture. And they take a picture as soon as you come off stage, and they have your Emmy in a box. So the one they give you on stage is a dummy Emmy.
Okay.
So you walk out, you grab it. You got all this media. So you go basically from the Emmy stage with all these people applauding you. Then you leave, you go down the steps, and then you're behind the stage, and they're like, all right, you ready? Okay, wait, you got photographs. You got all these pictures, and everybody just like, click, 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 and I'm like, click, 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 click.
Right.
And I don't know how to take a picture, so I'm like, because I'm happy, right? Like, dude.
Right.
So this is what got me. This is basically like when Facebook, this had to be what, 2012, I can't remember. But I remember being on Facebook, and I get the picture that they emailed me really quick, and I'm doing my media and all that, and I get there, and I'm like, bro, I want an Emmy, like I'm here, I just said a speech, so I posted it on Facebook, and I remember not being able to log back into Facebook. That's how many likes and shares it got.
Wow.
And that was the moment I was like, I think I just did something different.
Yeah. So, man, wow. One thing I want to do, though, obviously I know the story, but for our listeners they have to hear. Let's peel back the layers a little bit more.
All right.
So you talked about being in sports. How did you even get into film in the first place?
Dude. So I know I'm only 5'10" with Nikes on, and I stretch my neck. But I love basketball since I was age 2. I also ran track. I was all state in Michigan in track, and basketball didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but I had a love for it. I grew up with some amazing athletes. Mm-hmm. So it didn't mean that I couldn't hoop. It's just them dudes was crazy amazing. Like, right. I had a bunch of friends that went pro. Mm-hmm. So while I was playing basketball, I got this phenomenal opportunity, man, at the church. And I credit my grandmother. She's still alive. Kudos to her. Absolutely. She's 95. And I used to talk too much in church. Chirp, 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 chirp. And you probably was there. Actually, you were there.
I was there.
When I was cracking all the jokes in the choir stand, and my grandmother would be so mad at me after church. She'd be like, as soon as y'all get done singing, all he doing is talking and cracking jokes while everybody trying to listen in church. And so she asked one of the deacons in the church to give me something else to do. Mm-hmm. And I remember they put me on the media team.
How old were you at this time?
13.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 13. And that's when I touched my first camera.
Okay.
And that I remember.
Okay.
But my mom actually told me that the reason I'm not in a lot of pictures growing up is because I was the one taking the pictures.
So it started earlier than 13.
Yep.
Okay.
So I was always there. I always had a camera in my hand. And there was a guy at the church. It was 2. Actually, it was 3. One was Deacon Ellsworth. It was Toronto Snowden. And then who ended up still being my mentor today and really close friend and, uncle, brother. He's actually featured in the book as well. Okay. Michael Hankins.
Okay.
Yeah, who stuck with me. Yeah, he stuck with me forever. And he's the one who took me to the local TV station that was in the middle of the gutter. Okay. Like in the middle of the hood of the east side of Saginaw. And I just remember going into work with him one day. And I'm like, this is in the middle of the environment where I see so much death. I see so many drugs. I see so many gangs. I see so much brokenness, broken homes, fatherless homes, motherless homes.
And you're still 13 at this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And he took me in there, and it just changed my life. And I saw that there was something different. And then I saw someone who looked like me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Amongst this environment that I wasn't involved in.
Right.
And it sparked something. I didn't know that it was going to spark what it sparked. Mm-hmm. Who knows at 13, 14. I'm still trying to chase girls and hoop, bro.
Exactly.
Like, but yeah, it definitely was just one of those things where it put something there. And that was one of those transitional moments I was telling you about.
Right.
Like, there was a transitional moment in my life that sparked everything else that happened after.
So how did you stick with it, right? You stuck with one thing forever. I can remember all of us hanging together. I had 12 different jobs, over the course of 2 years, 3 years, but you literally stuck with the exact same thing for pretty much your entire life. How did you have so much willpower and so much determination to just stick with that one thing?
Well, I've always been like this. So I'm a person that I don't believe in a plan B. I don't like option B. I think option B is not a real option. I think it's settling. So for me in life, it was always about having discipline in the things that I like. And whatever kind of comes out of it, just comes out of it. But what I see for myself, I put that pressure on myself to only see myself a certain way. I don't put that on anybody else. I don't say, hey, look, I need you to believe in me to help me get there. I need you to do this. I don't chase things. I always saw myself as a movie director, film producer. And anything outside of that just doesn't work for me.
So you saw yourself as a film producer at 13?
I saw myself not at 13.
Okay.
I still wanted to go to the NBA.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Still wanted to play ball.
Okay.
But the more I fell in love with TV, not knowing that's what I was doing.
Okay.
But the discipline was there because I remember at 13, and this is a very important story. So when I say Michael Hankins was really important, and this was a transitional moment for me, Michael Hankins said to me, he said, in the church, and this is in 1993, 94. Mm-hmm. So he was like, it was a 2-camera setup. To have 2 cameras at a predominantly black church in the middle of a inner city, it was like unheard of. So we had 2 cameras. And I remember the camera on the floor level being the creative camera. And he was like, you can't work that camera yet. And I remember that telling him, I'm going to run this whole room one day. And by the time I was 16, I actually was running the room and doing all the editing and everything for it to be on television each week.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. So now let's talk about some of like the milestones, right? Leading up to where you are now. So you started at 13. At 16, you're running all of the video room and the whole team. So what was the next step after that?
The next step for me was TCT network.
Okay.
So I started putting myself out there. So TCT is just like TBN. It was a Christian network. They had a show called Ask the Pastor, and they would always ask volunteers to come through. So even when I was running the streets, I was in, gangs, and I was doing all that stuff, chasing girls, doing all that stuff, trying to hoop. When it was time to pick up a camera, I was there. And anytime I had an opportunity to do that, Wednesday night service, Tuesday night service, I was at the church doing it. And so that's where that discipline came. Because even when it was snow outside, even when it was cold, rainy, hot, I would still walk to practice. We ain't rides. We ain't no car.
Right.
We had the hood bike. If people don't know what the hood bike is, it's a bike that sits on the corner in the hood. You got to put it back. You just borrow the bike for the day, and at night you put the bike back on the corner. And if someone else needs the bike, so I would borrow the hood bike on the corner of Ruckle and Ray Street, and I would go to practice, and then I would come back. But I would use those same types of discipline with camera. Okay. And then what I was doing. So from there, that opened up the opportunity to go to a place called SETV, which is another transitional place that changed my life. So my 12th grade year of high school, I went to something called the Career Complex, or Saginaw Career Complex. And basically what that was a vocational school for high schoolers. Okay. And what that also endeavored was they had all types of things there, automotive, if you want to be a chef, if you want to do graphics, all this other things. There were classes for that, but they also had like a TV studio. And there was a guy by the name of Chris Frederick there, who was another transitional person in my life that saw something in me. And I wasn't the best in the class, but that was like my next step. So while I was there, I got an opportunity to do something called exploratory experience, where you go somewhere for a week. Okay. And you job shadow. So I went over to a local educational station. So think public access, but this was doper. And because I was a part of it. But no, it was a pretty amazing feat. So I went over there for a week. Okay. And dude, it was crazy. I got an opportunity to meet the people that worked there, the people that enjoyed it. And I got to touch equipment. And it was like this real life type thing. So what happened from there was that I wasn't going anywhere for spring break. So I had my exploratory experience. And then my very next week, I had spring break. I wasn't going anywhere. Right. So I said, hey, look, I don't need school credit. I don't need anything. Like, can I come back next week? He was like, are you serious? I said, yeah, can I come back next week? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I went for a whole nother week. It was crazy. So
did you have to pay for it?
Okay. No. It was part of like the program at the Saginaw Career Complex.
Gotcha.
So I go there, and in the midst of all that, which was crazy, is that I planted a seed. So for everybody out there, and I don't want to be too preachy, but planting seeds in areas that you never knew or doors that you open, always leave something or a part of you in that room. Don't be forceful. Don't be overly, I'm here, this is what I do. Just plant a seed. Shake a hand. Be a fly on the wall. Be a good listener. Be something that allows someone else to see something in you and be like, remember that one dude? Yeah. Exactly. So when I was 18, because this was my senior year, I ended up getting a girl pregnant. And that was life-changing. And I didn't know what I was going to do. At that time, I was pretty good in track and had a couple schools looking at me. I knew I wanted to play ball still, but that wasn't going well. And I just didn't know what to do. And me not having a dad, I was like, I got to be a father. I'm not going to be my dad.
Right. So really quick before you tell that story, so let's go back, right? So you're saying 12th grade, right? You have this amazing experience, these opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
What about all the distractions, right? So you talked about being in the hood, playing ball, getting with girls. How did you stay focused through all of that? Because I know being a teenager, all the peer pressure that comes along with being young, especially playing basketball, all the girls like you or want to be close to you or want to be around you.
Don't forget I dance.
How were you able to just say, hey, my friends in the hood, hey, I need to push you guys to the side because I need to go pick this camera up? How did you push the girls to the side to say I need to go pick this camera up?
I found out what my safe places was, and I started dissecting who I was as a person and what didn't work for me.
Okay.
So when I went out to Bridgeport High School and I left Saginaw High, so for those who don't know, I grew up on a street where I had to walk 4 blocks around the corner, and basically that was my high school. So for me to let that go, and it was predominantly black, it was like 3,000 people in the school. I knew everybody. I was extremely popular. And to leave and then jump in a car and drive 15, 20 minutes every day to another school that was predominantly all white. I only knew a few people was challenging. But some things that school offered me that the other school didn't was distractions.
Mm.
So I eliminated the distractions by going to something, and people don't know this. I always tell my kids this, but they had something called detention after school.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do is, instead of coming back to my neighborhood, because my grandmother at this time had to be like 75. So, I was on autopilot some days.
Mm-hmm.
And I would stay after school and do my homework in detention. And I did that all the time for like 2 years.
Okay. So you decided to do that? Or
I did,
somebody?
yeah. No, I decided.
Okay.
Yeah, because I knew if I went back to the hood, everything was going to happen.
Mm.
Yep. Everything was going to happen, all the things. So at least I knew when I went back, my work was done.
Right. So that helped with the homework. But like when it came to film, what did you do to get rid of the distractions then?
I had people.
Okay.
I had people. So the cool thing about life is if you pay attention, there's people that are always holding your hand. So I had enough people like Charles Hamilton, who was our youth pastor at the church,
right.
AKA Dad, who took time out. And I remember Michael Hankins as well. So Chuck, we call him Chuck, but Charles Hamilton would take us. He would take me shopping with him. He would show me things. We would hang out at his house and just talk. I remember Michael Hankins just taking me to his house, and he'll just make a big pot of chili, and we would listen to music. He'd be like, "You ever heard of the Roots?" I'm like, "Who the Roots?" And he'd throw it on, and he'd be like, "You ever heard of Curtis Mayfield? You ever heard of them? Man, this my." And he'll take albums out, and by the time it was, he was done, it'll be like 10 o'clock at night. Time to go to the crib. Yeah. Okay. Then the other thing, man, is prayer, bro. I remember at a very early age running the streets real bad, and prayer, man, it helped me. It helped eliminate some of those distractions.
So you had positive distractions.
Eliminate the negative distractions.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were still there. And the thing is about life is you're still going to life.
Right.
Life is going to life you, and you're still going to have to do life.
Right.
And you're just going to make your bumps and bruises. But I always had people there, Dr. Renee from the church, just allowing me. He was a physician from New York. He was from Haiti. And he stepped in as a father figure as well, and his kids, and took me in their home, let me spend a night in the township of Saginaw, where I was like, bro, what is this? I couldn't even ride my bike in these neighborhoods.
Definitely a change of pace.
Yeah, but he would take me in, man, and they would just show me stuff, and they would cook. And I remember he would hold Bible study with his kids every time I would go over there, and they would do that for an hour. So I'd have all these positive things mixed in with all these negative things, and they would fight each other. But I started seeing that there's other people that live life different than what I'm used to. And even though I had dreams to be a dope dealer and I wanted a 5.0 with triple gold D's, bro. Can I turn them Emmys into Dayton's? No, man, but yeah.
Dude, that's still my favorite car to this
What?
day. Yes, absolutely.
What? When
1999,
dude, bro, when
GT
he
5.0.
Dude, what?
Yeah,
when he came through that, he was like, man, run that. We supposed to be brothers. He was like, man, we supposed to be brothers, man. Don't get shot for nothing. Man, when Minister
Yeah.
Society came out, it was like, bro. But yeah, that was the dream.
Right.
And what people don't understand is, and they look at that stuff as negativity, but everybody wants to be successful at something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in our DNA, a lot of us, to be successful. And if you look out through history, through Egyptian history, a lot of African history, and you look throughout just the world, period. So my dad was Creole, and my mom's black. But if you look at all those traits, people always had a sense of wanting to be great.
Right.
So if the only thing around you is that, whether it was violence, whether it was negativity, or whatever you want to call it, for us, it was life.
Right. So now let's go back. I know you mentioned at 18 you had your first kid.
I
right?
did.
So that was another
Bro.
challenge for you. So now you got
Challenge.
the streets.
I
you
need
got
a bigger.
basketball.
I need a bigger word than challenge.
Now you got a kid on the way.
Break that thesaurus out. Give me something different, bro. Traumatic? Yeah, let's go with traumatic.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a traumatic experience. I was scared.
Okay.
I was scared.
Rightfully so.
I was scared, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't have someone to sit there and tell me it was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And the way it happened was extremely... I remember going up to Eastern Michigan on a visit and being excited and coming back. And this is back in the day where, in 99, where you had 2 house phones.
Right.
So the kids had a house phone and the moms had a house phone.
Exactly.
So I just remember my grandmother picking up the phone and a young lady on the phone and saying to her that I got her pregnant.
So, okay. So I'm assuming when you went to Eastern, that's when you met someone and got her pregnant. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
never made it to Eastern Michigan. This was high school.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this is high school. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah,
So you got an acceptance letter to Eastern.
I went on a visit
Okay, got
to
you.
tour the school, tour all the facilities, all that good stuff.
So when you said a visit, I'm thinking you went there to visit her.
No.
Okay.
I visited a lot, but it wasn't her.
Okay.
Nah, so I sat there and went on a visit.
Okay.
And I just remember how the dream of college started being something tangible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was, on this opportunity. And I remember watching my grandmother take it all in, bro.
Mm-hmm.
She took it all in. And we both were excited. And when we got back home,
That's when you got the call.
that's when we got the call.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The call was the call.
Right.
You could have had sound effects, a music score, doom, 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 footsteps.
So what did you do? Like, I mean, the fact that you have this promising career, right? From 13 to 18, you're making all of this progress. Then you get the call. You get accepted to Eastern. Now, all
Not
of
fully
that-
accepted. Just it was on a visit. Because I went up there because they were looking at me for track as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So it comes to a screeching halt because you get this phone call. So obviously you didn't drop film. So how did you balance the two?
Dude, I wish I could tell you it was me.
Okay.
And I know I sound very cliche, but it was all God, bro.
Okay.
I was at a loss.
At the time, did you know it was God?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because I was scrambling.
Mhm.
And I remember, if you remember, but the girl gets pregnant.
Uh-huh.
I graduate high school. I don't know what to do. I know I got this baby coming.
Mhm.
I know I don't have a father, so I'm sticking around.
Mm-hmm.
And you were working at Walmart, remember?
Mhm.
The automotive section
Yep.
at Walmart.
Yep.
And I tried my hardest to get a job at Walmart with you because they paid $7 an hour.
Yeah.
And I thought that was going to fix all my problems.
Right.
And what happened is the exact opposite.
Okay.
Remember I told you I got that exploratory experience at school?
Yeah.
That job?
Yeah.
They remembered me and a position got open. So they called my grandmother's house.
Okay.
And they said, hey.
No, I'm just saying, just listening to you. Oh, okay. It's all right if you want to grab it. It's cool.
Sorry.
No, it's all
I
right.
put it on Do Not Disturb. It heard us talking.
No, don't worry about that.
Sorry. Okay, let's try that again.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so I'm sitting here and, bro, when I tell you it was all God, it was all God.
Right.
I was sitting here and my grandmother gets a phone call from the place I went to while I was at the Saginaw Career Complex that I stayed that extra week.
Right.
They end up having a kid leave, and they had a job opening.
So you're still 18 at this time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they call and they say, hey, look, we have this job offer if you want it.
Mm-hmm.
And it paid exactly, I don't think it was exactly, but it was pretty close, but it was in TV.
Right.
And that's kind of how I got my first job in television.
Okay. So that's definitely a key challenge you had to overcome. But so I want to fast forward a little bit, right? Let's think about we'll say the last 10 years.
Yes.
What's one of the key challenges you had to overcome? Like that one that just really stands out in your mind. Like, man, I can't believe I made it through that.
Outside of life?
Life, you could talk about personal. I mean, talk about both, the personal and the professional side.
Trying to navigate, probably the hardest thing for me to do and still continue to be successful and determined and disciplined is navigate when lifes.
Right.
There's always going to be challenges, right? Like there's always going to be things not going right. You'll never have enough money. You'll never have enough this. You'll never have enough that. Doors are shutting, rejection. You don't know if you're good enough. TV is very cold-blooded, very cutthroat.
Okay.
And for me to be able to withstand hurt is probably one of the biggest challenges that I've probably had. And I'm not probably the first or the last that'll say that in the TV film industry is just overcoming self-sabotagation. I guess I'll call it that.
Okay.
Self-sabotaging yourself, because what happens is, and I'll explain it.
Okay.
And then I'll let you talk. I'm sorry.
No. It's okay. Because actually, if you don't mind, just give us, when you get a chance, one specific example, right? That one that just really just hits you deep, right? It doesn't matter what it is, whatever example you want to give. Because the goal is to be able to take what you're saying, right, in more of a practical form to say, hey, there's somebody out here who's experiencing or experienced something very similar, to say, hey, you know what, if you're in film or whatever industry you're in and this happens to you, this happens to me, and this is how I pull myself out of it.
What would I say? I don't know. I had like a couple different challenges. Like on the film side of things for me, and I don't know if I'm answering this correctly, but I'll just talk.
No, it's okay.
So on the film side of things for me, a lot of times that was like my safe haven.
Okay.
So I would lock myself in. But the thing for me is when I say self-sabotage, is keep putting myself back in situations that I know is going to be extremely hard to climb out of.
Okay.
So I had a baby at 18. Then I have another one at 21. Then I have another one at 25. You know, like, what are you doing, bro?
Right.
Like you didn't remember it was hard the first time or the second time?
Right.
Or the third time? Like,
okay.
Like you repeating these cycles because there's trauma or lack of, or these emotional things. So that's why I go back to self-sabotaging, like, or trying to overcome the lack.
Okay.
When you're battling the success, or trying to overcome imposter syndrome, knowing that you fit in this room, that you're talented enough to be in this space, but then you have all this life stuff that doesn't match the life stuff in the space that you're walking into.
Gotcha.
And learning how to own your truth in an environment that most likely doesn't accept your truth, only because they don't talk about their truth.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that was one of my biggest challenges.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, right? So you're in this space where obviously you're winning Emmys and you're being nominated and you're being pulled into different rooms that you've never been in before, and you have children and you're younger. What did you do to set yourself apart from everybody else, knowing that you probably had someone that came in who's either fresh out of college or did things, quote unquote, the correct way?
Oh my God.
How did you set yourself apart from them?
Oh my God. Bro, failure was all over everything. There was not setting myself apart. It was the same thing as I did before. You know, I didn't learn how to play basketball in the gym. I learned how to play it on a crate in dirt.
Okay.
So I just remembered that, like, life gonna be ugly sometimes, man. Situations are gonna be ugly. I remember when I used to dunk, I would get these scrapes on my wrist. Life is messy, bro.
Right.
Life is messy. Sometimes you're going to have scrapes and bruises, but they're for a reason to remind you.
Right.
So when I was in those spaces, I just knew one thing. I knew how to work hard. If there's one, I might not have a degree. I might not know the verbiage, but I can outread you and I can outwork you. And I'm good at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just sit and I would work. I would work. And I wish it was some magical thing, but I just outwork people.
Right. So when it came to like stand up to date on trends, right? You have people who think just because you go to school and get a degree, you know, I have all of the knowledge. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not knocking anyone that went to school for it or anything like that. But obviously, you took a different route, right? Where you had to learn literally everything hands-on, doing extra work, putting in extra time. So how did you continue to stay current with all of the trends in the film industry, different cameras, lighting, all that stuff?
Because I know how to take a back seat. See, the biggest problem with the most people that I run into, and hopefully I do offend a lot of people because I'm going to say this to offend you. You need to become better listeners.
Uh-huh.
And you need to learn how to learn from someone else.
Right.
Even if you feel like you're more talented or you have more than them or they're beneath you or something. You just need to learn from other people. Learn to become a fly on the wall. Even when I won an Emmy and I transitioned into film, I started getting people's water again. I started parking cars. I started doing the small things. Even though I knew how to run a camera, I went to every department. I respected that department. I respected the people who were in authority over me. And those are some of those key elements that got me to where I'm going. So I carefully learn. So when I run my set, I can tell you how long it takes to get lunch, what time you need to leave. I know how to be forgiven. And all these new people are coming in. I know how to light. I know how to grip. I know how to run audio. I know how to do all of it because I took time to learn everybody's department. So when I run my sets, they love me as a director because I know how to run and make the air feel amazing in high pressure situations because I took time to learn my craft. And sometimes we just don't do that. Everybody wants to rush. I'm a director. No, you're not, bro.
Right.
You're not because you don't even understand what it is. Well, I'm the one who got the movie. No, a director is a person who sets the tone for the room. He builds relationships with everybody so that they can have a better understanding of what they want, and he'll run through a brick wall for you.
So when did you hit that point? When did it finally settle in? Like, I'm not just a videographer. I'm a director.
I didn't. So I went from a videographer to what we call a storyteller, which is a cinematographer. Okay. So I feel like I'm one of the best shooters ever. Like I was told that. I do. I think I have a gift for filming. Okay. I just do. I do. Because it just comes so natural to me. It just does. Like, and I love telling stories, and I can read a room, and you know, you've seen some of the stuff I just shoot on my cell phone, like
amazing stuff.
And I just be like I just feel like I have a gift for it. Right. And one of my best friends now, his name's Paul Wright III. I always tell people, always have someone in your room that knows how to be a leader and a cheerleader for you. Exactly. So while I was around him, I would walk in these rooms all the time, and he would be like, "Oh, this is De'Niel Phipps. He's a director." I'm like, "No, I film." He's like, "This is De'Niel Phipps. Yeah, he's a director." And to the point where, you know, he helped me understand, like, it's time to go up another level. You have the tools. You have the ability.
When was this?
It's a couple years ago.
Okay.
And still at the same time, I was saying I was a cinematographer, but now I introduce myself as a director, cinematographer, content creator.
So even with all of the Emmys.
Imposter syndrome is a real thing, bro.
Wow, man.
Yep. And you get in rooms, right? Like mentorship, man. And that's probably why God gave me this as a very first book. because mentorship is probably the most important thing you can do for yourself in life and career.
Right.
You need a mentor in activities that you love.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like going to a sporting game or something like that, you need a mentor in that, because they can tell you what ballparks to go to, what basketball games to see. They can tell you all this historian stuff, and you can just really enjoy it. And you can see what yourself looks like 60 years from now and something that you just love.
Right.
You need one in your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You need one in friendship. You can put those both in the same. And you need one in your career.
Mm-hmm.
And you need one for life stuff, right? Like someone you can confide in. Like mentors are so important.
Right.
So even having someone over me who looks at me as an equal, and I still treat him some days with respect because he's older than me.
Right.
But as a mentor, and then sometimes I forget, I'm like, no, you're my best friend. But what do you think it is?
Right.
Like,
Right.
And he's the one who kept telling me, like, no, dude, this is you.
Right.
This is you. This is you. You can do this. He's the one who put me in the rooms with all these big people and gave me my first opportunity for a national artist. And, and always tells me, like, I remember when I was going off on my own for the first time in 2018, and I was kind of holding on to, more for sure things. And he was just like, look, you're going to be fine. You sure?
When you say holding on, what were you holding on to?
We all hold on to security a little bit.
Okay.
I've always dibby-dabbed a little in my career and
Gotcha.
all that other stuff. But,
Right.
you want to hold on a little bit to security, like, like the world tries to teach you.
Yeah.
But no, he was like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And I was.
Okay. So at this point, you were working a job.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So, yes, because I had a contract that would renew. So I had a contract with a university. I taught there, and I also handled all of their
Hold on, you just
big
kind of
production.
slid that in there, right? We didn't talk about the university part. So you worked at a university.
Yeah. Yep. I had a
Okay.
contract to handle all their marketing stuff, and I was
Okay.
a professor there,
Okay.
or an instructor, or whatever you want to call it. I don't have a degree or a tenure, but
Right.
it was at Miami University, prestigious school in Oxford, Ohio.
Right.
And I got an opportunity to teach there for 3 years,
Okay.
which was crazy and amazing. I loved it, and because I'm an expert in my field,
Right.
apparently,
Right.
and. And then I also got an opportunity to create all their content. Won a lot of awards. We did some really cool stuff. We kind of set the bar for what education should look like.
Okay. So you talk about imposter syndrome, right? And this is something that's valuable for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
With both of us coming from the streets of Saginaw, right?
Mm-hmm.
The things that we were involved in,
Mm-hmm.
the things that we did, not going to school, having kids at an early age. How did you navigate all of these rooms with all of these big name people? Obviously you're still doing it to this day because you're used to
Bro.
it. But how did you make it years ago? Not knowing what to say and probably how to sit, how to dress, whatever. How did you navigate that?
Yeah, I was when I started first filming, I was wearing Mecca, Averex, and 555 Soul, bro, with some Timbs on.
Right. I remember that.
Yep, I was filming and all that, and I was probably 118 pounds with XXX clothes on.
Right, right.
Man, some days, man, I sit back, especially on my long rides.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when you're in an unfamiliar place, for me, what happened is I always figured out a way to adapt, but
Okay.
I did it very slow. I never walked into a new season of my life fast.
Okay.
I always walk into it slow because I don't want to miss a step. So every time I go into a new environment, I try to latch onto something that's good and something that I can learn. So if I always have something to hold on to, when that room becomes very, very scary, I'm still holding on.
So break that down for us, because I actually like that. So you said something new and something basically you're familiar with, right?
Yeah. So basically, if there's something new in the room, it makes you excited.
Right.
It's something exciting.
Right.
So you're like, man, I want to be a part of that.
Okay.
And then, but you still hold on to something that you're familiar to.
Okay.
That way, when you don't feel like you're good in this area, you're still doing well over here. Yeah. And then there's things about you, man, that you can always recall on, like your prior knowledge about, just getting to know yourself. Success is scary. Success is very hard. And success is challenging.
Right.
And but you have to keep pulling off that next layer. I remember when I used to run suicides, you know, my goal was always to be the first.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't worry about being tired. I always wanted to be first.
Right.
When I ran track, I just wanted to be first. I didn't worry about how to get to be first.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens sometimes. We worry about the point of how challenging it's going to be to get to be first, instead of just always focusing on what's first and enjoying the zigzag. Because life is a zigzag. Your career is going to be a zigzag. Success is going to be a zigzag. So while I'm in these new rooms and these new spaces, I fall in love with the zigzag.
Okay.
Because there's never going to be a straight path.
Right.
And nobody's ever going to have the same story. And when you realize that, you're good.
Right.
And the rejection's going to hurt and things are going to hurt, but you always have something you're going to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
And then something like, man, but I gotta know. Right. Like for me, I've always been a person that just has to know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can I do this?
Right.
Can I? Like that's cool, but I really want to know about this thing over here.
Right.
So, quick story. You know, I was staring at 2 kids and I got this phenomenal opportunity. And I was broke.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's broke. And then there was what I was. I was broke.
Okay.
And I just remember leaving Michigan and getting down to Columbus, Ohio, and coming up right before I left. I did this shoot with George Bush. George Bush was coming into Michigan. President George Bush, sorry. President George Bush, GW, was coming in. And, you know, I had to film with him. And there was all these networks there, all these TV people. And they were like, man, you're really good at what you do. And he was like, so where you work at? What are you doing? And this is when Detroit was like market 10 and it was a great paying job and it was just a phenomenal career choice. I was like, well, I just accepted this job in Columbus, Ohio. I was like, how the heck we lose you to Columbus, Ohio? I need you to come up here. So Channel 4 in Detroit actually hired me while I was still working in Columbus as well.
Okay.
So on the weekends, I would leave Columbus at Friday at like 6 o'clock, and I would drive all the way to Detroit, which is 3.5 hours. And I would sleep at my uncle's house in Southfield, Michigan. And then I would go into work at 6 a.m.
Wow.
in Detroit, and I would work all day. And then I would do that Saturday. And then Sunday I would leave, and I would leave Detroit at 3 in the morning, and I would drive all the way back to Columbus. I would sleep in the parking lot at ABC, and I would work.
Wow.
And I work all day. I did that for a year or so.
Okay.
And I just remember they were like, look, I get it. You going back and forth. We get it. We love it. We want to offer you a position here. And they were all union. And I think within a couple years, something like that, I can't remember. But I would have made $95,000 a year at like 24 years old. Now, mind you,
24 making that kind of money?
$95,000, bro.
Man.
In like 2004. So that was cake.
Shoot. At that age, you're a millionaire.
What? I'd have had that 5.0 with them triple gold D's. So what happened was I turned it down. And I turned it down because that's what I didn't see for my life. And what happened was so many times as people, we go to the shiny thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of continuing the path of where we really see our lives. And it's almost like a dog. A dog is running, and then you show him something shiny, he comes right back and he gets off the path.
Exactly.
And how many times do you want to keep jumping off the path?
Yeah.
So you asked me earlier, I don't want to ever jump off the path because I got to know.
Yeah.
I have to know. I already know that I could stop what I'm doing now, never film anything else again, and to the world, they would consider me successful.
Right.
To my kids, they would consider me successful. If you Google me, you would consider me successful.
Right.
But to myself, I have a bigger purpose. And I got all this stuff in my head. And the only way to get there is I got to keep fighting.
So what was that purpose at 24? 24 years old, they dangle $95,000 in front of you. Had to be a serious purpose for you to turn that down.
I had to go do movies.
Wow.
Yeah, I was always on a path for movies. I've always been on that path.
So you turned that down, but you stayed at ABC.
Yep, and made $32,000 a year, struggling.
Wow.
3 kids. I think I had to pay $235 a month for each kid. Child support. Man, bro. Grocery, man.
So why not just leave ABC and go to the other place?
Because I knew the money would be a block.
Ah.
I would
Okay.
never. I have this saying. It's called, I would never sell my soul to the paycheck.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. So if you're talking to somebody right now, 2023, 24, that's looking to take the same path that you took, or a similar path, right? They want to go into film. What would you recommend?
Not having babies.
Definitely that.
No babies. No babies. A little harder.
Right? Because, I mean, right now, like, the whole terrain has changed, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I look like a genius now. I remember in 1993, like I said, I can talk to you all day, but I just remember in 1993 being like, I'm going to pick up this camera.
Yeah.
By 1999, I had a baby on the way, and General Motors was like right across the street, and everybody kept telling me I need to go work in the plant, work in the plant. Now in 2022, I look like a genius, bro. I'm 27 years now or something like that.
Right.
Only 42 with experience in television and film. That's crazy. I picked like the perfect career.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything is video. Everything is video.
Right. So to the young De'Niel out there who's like, hey, I want to get into film. Where do I start? Where do I go? What's my first step? Walk me through it.
You have a cell phone. Go figure out who you are in this industry first.
Okay.
Figure out if you love it. Film everything. Film everything with your phone. You have these outlets and you have permission. We didn't have permission back then. In order for me to film, I had to figure out a $42,000 news camera, or I had to go beg somebody for theirs. Like, it was not possible.
You want the big bulky one you just put on your shoulder?
Yep. Yep. But now you have something in your pocket. So go figure out who you are in this industry. Go figure out just who you are. What is your truth as an artist? And don't worry so much about all the other stuff. Those are milestones, and it's really cool. It's cool to have trophies and all that stuff, and it's commendable and all that good stuff. But just find out who your art is. When you go back to me, like, why I don't sell my soul to the paycheck, is because that's not my true art. My true art is to really push this faith-based and inspirational film to heights that we haven't seen, to create with people and artists out there that want to help people. Life-changing work. You know, we only get one shot at this thing. That's it. I get one shot.
Right.
I'm telling you. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to collect more stuff? Or am I going to go into legendary mode, legacy mode, and really help people? And that's what I see for myself. And along the way, there's going to be some bumps and some bruises, but I'm going to help some people and help myself as well.
Okay. So in terms of like trends, right? New equipment, all of these, it seems like something's always changing, right? For example, I'll post content and I'm using the caption that's in the app, right?
Exactly.
And then I see, somebody else, they come out with new caption and emojis and all. So it's like, okay, man, now I got to learn something new. So how do you stay current on all of this tech in your industry?
Because one thing never changes. Can you tell a story? The equipment's always going to change.
Okay.
But the truth is, still know how to tell a story.
Right.
And that's what's being lost in a lot of people's work.
Okay.
They don't know how to tell a story because there's too much technology.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But the way I do it, stay up with the trends, is you got to read. I read about 4 hours every day.
Okay. What do you read?
I pick and choose,
Okay.
right? Like, I kind of make sure I read sports because that's my safe haven.
Okay.
That's how I kind of check out, unless it's about Michigan football. Like, bro. All right, I'm back. But other stuff, I kind of read about that. I read my Bible every day. Make sure I get through that. And then I kind of read things I'm interested in, and I'll get lost in that. And I do my best to do that every day. You got this device in your pocket. Don't always scroll, bro. Like, I have 500 tabs open in one side, so I had to open up the private side, and I got like 400 in there open because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go back to that. I can't close it.
Right. I do the same thing.
Yep. And it's just like, it's like, because you have to be a constant learner.
Right.
And if you see something, and I like figuring things out. One thing I didn't share with you is I used to want to be an electronic engineer.
Never knew that.
Yep, I wanted to be an electronic engineer, and that kind of got my chance to kind of work on that for a very small period of time. But I found out that technology meets creativity in broadcast film.
Gotcha.
So, because we're building sets, we're touching equipment all the time, where it's challenging, you're troubleshooting stuff, you're fixing stuff. I fly drones, I like just some of everything. So I got that same little, from technology, from wanting to be an electronic engineer.
Right.
But that didn't feed my creative side. Now my creative side, now I can join the two.
How do I know you for over 30 years and not know that?
Because back then it wasn't cool to be smart. Yeah, I didn't know who I was.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, let's take it more of like the personal route, right? How do you, with so much going on, so much activity, right? So many different goals, how do you balance all of that in your personal life? Time with your kids and whoever else that's special to you?
Well, I would tell you it's hard, right? Like, just recently went through a divorce 2 years ago because sometimes balance wasn't there. But I don't think in this life there will ever be balance. I think there's just seasons in your life where there's opportunities to spend more time. So when you have that time, use it. And then there's other seasons of your life where it's just build and transition season. And hopefully the person you're with understands that.
Okay.
Or you're taking them with you. The one thing I do get to do now is that I make time. I make things because I'm older now, right? I've slowed down. Like, I don't chase as fast as I used to chase.
Right.
Like, I'm learning like this is a marathon, not a sprint. Right. It's okay if things take an extra day or two to be perfected. It's okay. Right. It's okay. It's okay. Like, bro, it's okay. And the other thing I'm learning, to go back to what you were saying, is that I was on a plane and we were coming back from LA. Okay. And I was sitting there editing some photos, and this lady I was sitting next to was looking at my work, and she was like, "Wow, you're pretty good at what you do." I'm like, "Yeah, one day, man, I'm gonna be film director, blah blah blah." And she was like, "You want to be a what?" "I want to be a film director, man. I want to get bad. I want to win best picture, man. I want to be the first, blah blah blah." And she was like, "Okay." She said, "I see it." She said, "How old are you?" And I told her, and she was like, "You're a baby." I said, "I'm what?"
How old were you then?
Probably 28.
Okay.
Maybe 32. I don't know, bro. The years get mixed together. But she told me, "You're a baby." And I said, I looked at her because I felt at that point I lived so much life. 3 kids in, life lifed.
Absolutely.
And, dealing with broken home stuff growing up, just a bunch of stuff. And you feel like, okay, I got to run this race because I lost so much time. And she told me, she said, just be patient. She said, by the time you're 40, the rooms you're trying to get in now, all your friends are going to be in charge. And I was like, I didn't understand it. But now that I'm 40, 42, I look around. One of my best friends is lead anchor on NBA TV. People I work with is now heads of like Universal and Motown Gospel. People, man, I could keep going and going. And I'm like one of my girl I worked with years ago, her name's AJ Ross. And I work with her here in Columbus at ABC News. And we kicked it, talk for a while, and just really so talented. She kept telling me, I want to be on sports. I want to be on sports. And now she's working for the NFL and CBS. Oh, yeah, she's doing her thing. Nice. So all these people where we were grunting and grinding, everybody's in charge now. Okay. So it's so much easier to get into the rooms and just all that. So for all those people out there that are aspiring, just be patient. But you have to know what your art is going to bring to the world.
Exactly.
You have to know where your art is going to be placed, and never do it for the money.
Exactly. Okay. So I have to ask.
Yes.
Obviously, I told you earlier, I love the T-shirt, right?
Oh, man, bro.
So, from what we talked about, it's Little D. So you got a whole lineup in terms of your brand. Let's talk about that.
Oh man, so the Adventures of Little D and his quest to be more has just been a gift to me.
Okay.
It was one that I didn't ask for. I think the vertical took care of that. If you guys don't know what the vertical is, it's when your life gets aligned properly with the man upstairs, and then all this other stuff starts coming out, your true purpose. So if you're wondering why you're stuck, or sometimes you're wondering why you can't figure things out, all that things is because your vertical is crooked. Mm-hmm. So if you take care of your vertical, everything else will start coming out, and you'll start seeing all these ideas, this creativity. So the Adventures of Little D and his quest to be more, the most important thing in that book is called, for me, in that title, is called Be More. And what I'm pushing kids to do, and people in general, is just to be more of who you are inside. Don't be anything else. Just be more of who you are. And then when you realize that and you see all your imperfections, you'll start realizing that your imperfections are actually your perfection. And the things that are imperfect about you is actually what makes you perfect. Mm. So when I was younger, man, I heard every Gap joke in the world, bro. It was like, what?
I know about it because the nose joke.
Yeah. So, it made me feel less than. But as I gotten older, it's been one of my best qualities.
Okay.
And something that has become one of my trademarks and something that I should be excited about. So I made sure that in the book that the imperfections of us and the things that people don't or people want to point out, it's all in the illustration. So Little D has a gap. The people in the book have darker skin, whiter skin. The clothes aren't perfect. Things are loose because we're people, and everybody is imperfect. There is no perfect person. There is no perfect look. Some are attracted to this. Some are attracted to that. That's all it is.
Exactly.
So when we go into that, when we think about that, the Adventures of Little D and his quest to be more is all about pushing people to be more. So from ages 5 to 9, I really want to grab a hold to those kids while they're still oozing and they want to gravitate to all this new knowledge and figure out who they are. And their imagination is running wild. So what's going to happen is that I created all these illustrations and all these different characters that are based off of Little D to push people to know that they can be anything. Mm-hmm. So this I have this new line coming out, and it's called Be the First, which I'm encouraging kids to be the first at whatever they want to be. They can be the first to go to college. They can be the first to graduate. They can be the first doctor. They can be the first firefighter, the first police officer. So we have a line that's called Be the First, and there's puzzles, book bags, shirts, hoodies, just some of everything. And I'm really excited about it. It's something that I didn't ask for, but I truly believe God gave to me.
Okay.
And it's something that I think we'll all be excited about. The book doesn't stop with just one. It's going to be translated in Spanish as well for those bilingual people or others, other countries who are looking to get books and hear that amazing, powerful story of mentorship for their kids. The book can be found in 30 different retailers right now. So you can just Google it, find it, whatever your favorite retailer is, Barnes & Noble, Books, Half Price Book, Books A Million, Amazon. Doesn't matter. You can pick up the book from there. And then the merchandise and all that stuff, if you want to go to littledbooks.com, it'll tell you all about how to find all the merchandise and all that good stuff.
Okay. So any other value you want to add? Any other advice you want to give?
Oh, dude, I could be here another hour. So what I try to tell people now, I've gotten blessed. I would tell you there's a couple things about having Emmys. They allow you to walk indoors and people listen. Mm-hmm. So if there's something I could tell someone out there, and it's really, really important, is that how you do one thing is how you do everything. Mm-hmm. How you do one thing is how you do everything. If I can't trust you to sweep the floor, I can't trust you to carry my camera.
Exactly.
How you do one thing is how you do everything. The discipline you create in something that you do on your right side of you is the same discipline that is required on the left side of you. Mm-hmm. Those things are important, man. And building those disciplines early. If you don't work hard when you're young, you're not going to work hard when you're old. You're just going to have a hard life. And that's just the truth. I've lived long enough. You are become your biggest critic. If you're not happy with your life, why do you think someone else would be?
Right. That's true.
And it's so easy to get out of what you're in because you just need to become more of you. The moment you decide to become more of you, you will change your entire life.
Yeah. I can attest to that for sure.
Yeah, man. And these are just small things that I learned early. Some I fell into. Some I didn't know, right? Like we all have all these gifts. And the moment we decide that we only want to focus on our gift is the moment you're going to start seeing a lot of things in you that you didn't know.
Right.
You know, I wanted to be a hooper, and I was good. Like, I hung out with the basketball players. I know them. I still know them now. I know NBA players. Like, I was with Jason Richardson yesterday, like, who played with the Golden State Warriors. A good friend. I can go through my phone book. I know all of the hoopers.
Right.
But God made me a filmmaker.
Okay.
And the moment I did that, it changed my life. Don't sit in your talent season too long. Your talent season and your purpose season are two different things. When you sit in that talent season too long, you can get lost in it. And I don't want to knock anybody who wants to be a musician or anybody who wants to be an artist or anybody who wants to be a lawyer or anybody who wants to do this. Just figure out who you are, man. And the money will come. And if it doesn't, you're still loving what you do.
Exactly.
And maybe you weren't meant to be a millionaire. So stop dreaming about being a millionaire because you're wasting your time on not having your real life because the people you're supposed to reach are not in that gated community.
Exactly.
They're just not.
That's very true.
They're somewhere else. So just become more of you, man. I see so many people out here that are living these fulfilled lives. And their car don't start tomorrow.
Right.
But they're living the greatest life that God placed them on. And they changed so many people's lives along the way.
Right.
You know, I was watching this documentary on Sunday. It was called After Death. And the one thing they said when they went to heaven and came back, or they had a near-death experience, is that they found out that when they come back here, the most important thing in this world is to love. So your purpose and what you do in this world should always be tied to love.
Okay.
And if you find the love, not only for that career choice, but if you find the love in the work, and the work is attached to love to the person or the people and how they're supposed to identify with it, you're going to leave happy regardless of what that paycheck is.
So one last thing. If you had to think of one question that we should ask the next guest, what would that question be?
Outside of their why?
Yeah.
Man, I always ask people to find their why.
Find why?
That's the biggest thing. Like for me, you know, and I didn't even say this earlier, but I'll just go through a list of stuff I've done. I've seen all, but at this point, 8 states for free.
Okay.
Like I filmed. I was there with Obama. I was there with George Bush. I was there with John Kerry. You know, I was there when Kobe, Shaq, Karl Malone, Gary Payton, NBA Finals when they lost to Detroit Pistons. I was there. I was there at Super Bowls. I was there BCS championship games. I was there. And I was there with all this stuff. But if you don't know your why of why you're doing it, then none of it matters.
Right. That's true.
So if you have another guest who sits in this seat and, you know, they can rattle off, well, I made $100,000 last year. But why? Why?
If there's purpose behind it.
There you go, bro.
Right. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, obviously, again, knowing each other over 30 years, probably longer than that.
4th grade.
Right, 4th grade.
4th grade, whatever that is, we old now, man. You can do the math for us.
We can sit here and talk forever, but, man, I appreciate you, one, coming on the podcast, being vulnerable, telling your story, man, because I really felt like your story was really special to really dive deep into you starting this journey at 13. Yeah. And to see where you are right now is amazing, man. And it will inspire a lot of people out there who are there right now thinking that they can't make it. They're, you know, dealing with imposter syndrome, all of that stuff, man. So thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll say one last thing if that's okay.
No, go for it.
Stay consistent. And I think that when trouble hits, just always go back to just staying consistent. Do what you know is the right thing to do, and it'll all work itself out. I know for me, with, you know, having to deal with emotional pain from family, having to deal with self-inflicted pain that I put on myself, from feeling lack of, less than in rooms, all this stuff, man. I just stayed consistent. And that consistency opened up doors. And you learn stuff about yourself. In the movie Pursuit of Happiness, the whole movie wasn't about him becoming a broker. The whole movie was about finding that moment in life where you can be happy for a moment. And what that moment was is that he had a little bit of success to help him keep going. And I think that these are what the Emmy wins were for me. Some of the book sales, some of the people I get to meet along the way. This podcast is a win for me to being able to share, because that's what I'm really supposed to do. Whether I'm speaking to 1 million, 1,000, or 2.
Exactly.
It's all about how do we put what we've taken in and putting that into someone else. And the biggest thing is just stay consistent, man. Whatever you're trying to do, if you're cutting grass, do it consistently. Find your thing and just keep working that thing, man, until just keep working it. It's going to hit eventually. And challenge yourself to become more professional. Challenge yourself to get outside your box. Be on time.
Okay. I'll definitely take that. Great close. There's nothing else to add to that but this. Make sure you support, grab the book, grab the merchandise. All of the information will be down in the description notes. But hey, I want to thank you for joining the Let's Evolve for Tomorrow podcast, where we inspire aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs to get to the next level by inviting other new, aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs to the podcast, where they can give knowledge, gems, and golden nuggets on how to get to the next level. We'll see you next time.